This is the Bottom Shot Podcast.
Pulverary is up high. They come out of turn number 4. Stutter between the turns. The fans come to their feet.
It is Ted Christopher still in command. Keith Rocco right there on his back bumper.
Bringing Stafford Motor Speedway's past and present together.
They are side by side running for the finish line. It's a photo finish.
Deep into turn number 3. He goes in deeper than most. Christopher is in trouble. It is Keith Rocco to slingshot to the bottom, and he'll take down the win.
A Stafford Motor Speedway production where we will hear from the personalities from the past and present that found success on the legendary half-mile oval.
The scoreboard shows goose eggs as they wait. It's Pulverary. He wins it by inches over Richie Evans in the Spring Sizzler.
Unbelievable chain of events.
Now, here are your hosts, Paula Root and Kyle Rickey. Welcome to episode 4 of the Bottom Shot Podcast here at the Stafford Motor Speedway as we connect the past with the present here at the Stafford Half Mile. I'm Kyle Rickey, track announcer here at the racetrack, joined by COO here at Stafford, Paula Root. And Paul, first 3 episodes of this show have been great. Cannot wait for what we have to come with our guest here on this show and battling Bo Gunning.
We have a great guest today. He's one of the all-time greats at Stafford. I feel like I say that every time we have a guest,
yeah. But
Bo is one of those drivers where the stories are just unbelievable, and you're like, they are true. A lot of fights, a lot of suspensions, but also a lot of amazing times at Stafford and all the tracks in the region.
A lot of race wins and a lot of track championships over a large gap of time, and that's something that we're going to talk about here with Bo coming up in just a few moments. But first, a lot of news here at the Stafford Motor Speedway going on here in the off-season. I think a lot of people think you guys just shut the doors before the holidays, after the banquet, and a couple weeks before the Sizzler. Kind of get things rolling.
It was
but
that easy.
That is not the case here at Stafford. As every week we've done this show, there's been a lot of news, and obviously we kind of teased an announcement on last week's shows involving Ted Christopher and the safety initiative for this season, and that announcement came out just a couple days ago.
Yeah, so got a call from Quinn Christopher about a week ago looking to put together this safety initiative, the Ted Christopher Drive for Safety Initiative, which is going to provide a fireproof shirt, head sock, or a helmet skirt for every Stafford competitor in 2020, which is amazing. Yep. Ted was always a big proponent in safety, especially the fireproof undershirts and all that. So amazing a program. The information is on our site. If you are a Stafford competitor, you just have to go online, complete the form, and you'll get your safety gear. It's really a cool program. We're excited to do.
That gear will be distributed Sizzler weekend?
At the Sizzler. And also every driver who is involved is going to be entered into a drawing for a full custom fire suit to be given out at the Ted Christopher event in July. So great program. We can't thank Quinn enough for calling us up and letting us be a part of his legacy.
Yep. Incredible announcement. Find out all the details at StaffordSpeedway.com. One of many announcements. That one got a lot of pop this week, but a lot of new drivers. I guess maybe veteran drivers in like legend car ranks, but a lot of names shuffling around the SK Light modified field. Although we're gonna lose a couple of drivers. We talked last week about Teddy Hodgson moving up to the SK Modifieds. There's always somebody younger and that wants to kind of fill those spots in the field, and we have some new names.
I don't know if they're younger though.
Maybe not.
That's
true. Teddy's still young.
2 talented drivers that we announced this past couple days here. Peter Bennett was the legend car champion at the Speed Bowl, as well as the Seekonk Speedway.
Yep.
Will be joining the SK Light class in 2020. Very talented driver, along with Kyle Elwood, who is a modified tour competitor, about 25 starts in the tour. Raced a lot of tracks on Long Island, and he's going to be driving a Paul French car. So 2 drivers that are definitely going to be competitive probably out of the gate and add some new faces into that amazing division.
That's the SK Light Modifieds. Those releases also on StaffordSpeedway.com. We've talked a lot about the May 29th event here, the Pro Late Models, and that big show that you guys are going to host here at the end of May. An entry list that was already stacked before last week, and again, more entries continue to pour into the racetrack.
It's so great when it's only January and we're getting these talented drivers committing to this show. It's a new event. We're excited about it. We had this past couple of days, we had Ray Christian announce he's going to compete, and he's also going to provide Todd Owen in a backup car as well, which Todd obviously is an SK driver at Stafford. Also a former Pro Stock driver as well. So I imagine he'll be, a factor in that event. Also announced that Jake Johnson, competitor also at the Seekonk Speedway, is going to be making the drive over to Stafford to compete, and it's going to be an awesome show.
Michael Sullivan, part of that list as well. Yeah. So going to be a great show. Again, May 29th, mark it on your calendar. Pro Late Models will be the headline that night here at the Stafford Motor Speedway. So a lot of off-season news. Again, StaffordSpeedway.com, your source for all of that news during the off-season. Bo Gunning's out here waiting to go, so we're going to get him strapped in the chair. This should be fun.
Battling Bo Gunning.
Battling Bo Gunning joins us here on the Bottom Shot Podcast. Episode number 4 of the Bottom Shot Podcast rolls on here from the Stafford Motor Speedway with 3-time SK Modified Track Champion, a 47-time SK Modified winner here at the Stafford Motor Speedway, battling Bo Gunning. Bo, welcome to the podcast. I understand your first podcast.
Yeah, my first podcast. So you're right.
He comes in, he goes, I don't even know what a podcast is.
I thought we were doing something with pots or something. I don't know.
All right, let's jump into it. We'll talk about the championships here in a little bit, but a career that started for you back in, the late 1970s? 1970,
well, actually, I started racing quarter midgets back in the 60s. I started when I was 4. I actually ran against the Roots.
Really?
Yes, they at Meriden. They used to race quarter midgets, and we ran there. I ran there until I hooked up with a really good team out of Pennsylvania, and we ran all over the country with those. And then when I left that, I wasn't sure if I was going to race again or why. I really was, the interest wasn't there, but then a guy asked me to run his car at Plainville, so I did that for a year. Then I was working at a Chevrolet dealer in Danbury, and a couple guys from the Danbury racetrack worked there, and there was a car I bought. And I said, I'll buy the car if you get me into the club. And they said, you buy the car, we'll get you into the Danbury Club, which was a closed club, and you couldn't get in. So I bought the car. I went to the track that Saturday, and I raced there for the next 3 years.
So you started your career in the sportsman division at Plainville.
Right.
And then how was it their immediate success, or was it
no success.
And what kind of a car was that, and kind of like
I ran the sportsman at Plainville. It was a 56 Chevy. We bought from a guy, Johnny Howes, who he ran SKs for a while, and I remember going there the first time, and they said you can go out on the track for 5 laps and practice. So I went out and I come in and I said, guys, this thing's fast. So they're not going to beat us. Well, 3 laps into the heat race, they lapped me already. And I was like, wow, I don't know if I could do this or not. We got better. I think our best finish there that year was a 4th. And then we went to Danbury. We ran Danbury 3 years and won a feature each and every year. We had 3 feature ones. I think we had something like 30 total Windsor with heat races.
And so your transition from Plainville to Danbury, that's going from a sportsman to a mod?
No, I actually ran, and it was the SK type mod.
SK type.
Yeah, because they had the full-blown mods at Danbury, and they had the sportsman, which were like the SK, same as a mod, smaller motor, that's all.
And it sounds like you bought your car from a pretty famous a modified driver here.
Well, actually, the car I had, it wasn't Bugsy, it was Bob Polvalari.
Okay.
Still
also
famous
famous.
modified.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even know Bob, and never met him in my life, and called him up and said, we want to build a race car like yours. Can we come up and look at yours? So he goes, yeah, come up next week. We'll have it all apart. So we went up, measured the car all up and built one.
So you built a car.
We built the car. So Danny Civitello, who at one point in life owned New Dine Chassis, we built a car.
And so you build the car, you go to a new track, you get in the club, which I think a lot of people don't really know the history around that track and how the club kind of operated. But, well, actually, let's start there.
Yeah.
Can you talk us through kind of what the Danbury track, like how that even was? I know the stories that I hear, it was so closed and you had to be part of the group or you're a nobody.
It was very different. Driver, owner, 5 crew member in the pits. That was it. You had to sign in at the beginning of the year, and those were the only ones in the pits.
Really?
No women,
Wow.
there was no women in the pits. Every pit stall had a water faucet, electrical outlet, and it was all grass. It was nice.
Huh.
We set up our lawn chairs.
Hang out.
It was very different. It was very nice. I think when you started, you didn't realize exactly what we were kids. We were young kids, just doing something we didn't even know what we were doing. And we had a blast though. There was 5, 6 of us worked on the car every night, and I had my brother-in-laws help me there, and my brother Tommy was with me forever. And Danbury was just different. It was just a very, very nice, clean. Food was better than a fancy restaurant there. A lot of fights.
That's kind of the story. Is that the demise of Danbury with all the fights there? The police came in and kind of said, "Time to shut it down, boys."
Yeah, there was a lot of fighting there. There was a section of the grandstands for most every driver had their own section, and of course there was fights, and we used to get into it with Randy LaJoy all the time. Me and Randy ended up being good friends, and Don LaJoy, we become good friends. But one night there, it was me and Randy tangled, and we got ready to leave the track, and they were waiting for us on the back road. And, of course, Randy and Don had big guys, so I had my brother-in-law. We had a school bus we used to carry the car in. So we're driving down, and they stopped us because they wanted to fight with us. So my brother-in-law gets out, and he was 6'9". He was big guy. So Don LaJoy goes after him. He tries to kick him, and he said his leg didn't go high enough. So he knew at that point, he said, we're in trouble. Stop. He said, we need to be friends with these guys. And we become friends after that, and they helped me a lot over the years, and it was pretty neat.
And so who were some of the other drivers that you competed against at that track? I know there's a lot of famous names out of that facility.
Louis Pryor, he ran. Danny Galula. Let me think who else that went on. Randy, of course. Johnny Pasquins, he ran up here. He was in a big fire over here that one time. Freddie Drum, Lou Funk, them guys. There was a lot of guys, and it's a lot of them. Jack Ely, me and Jack stayed friends for a long time, but a lot of guys didn't continue on. They went to Thompson when Danbury closed for a while. I chose not to go there. I came here instead in '82, which was a 5-6 race season. That was it. That's all we had the money for.
And so what drove the choice to come to Stafford then?
Stafford.
It was the mystique.
Stafford was the place, and everybody says you either get it or you don't. I had run, when I was running Danbury, I come here for an open modified show with my Danbury Sportsman car one night, and I started, I think, 5th in the heat race, and it was like Evans and Bugsy, and
you're like looking around like, whoa.
I don't know. I felt I could beat him. I thought I could. I couldn't. I couldn't even come close to him, but I thought I could. And so we ran here a couple times and like that, and I don't know. I just wanted to come here. My father at the time, he said to me, "You need to go to Stafford."
And that's what made Stafford Stafford, is some of those names that you just mentioned a moment ago?
Absolutely. This was the place. I mean, I can remember being younger, getting off the highway, and couldn't even get to the track because the traffic was back to there. And then when you got in, it was standing room only, but you didn't care. You stood underneath and looked between the bleachers to watch the races, And It's what I wanted. I just wanted to race here, you know. I mean, Thompson was great. Don't get me wrong. When you win a race at Thompson, coming off the bank and getting the checker flag, that was like a really neat feeling. But to win here was special.
And so did you take to the track pretty quickly? I know it's a driver's track. It's really challenging, and there's a lot of guys don't ever really figure it out. Was it immediate for you, or did it take some time?
I think right off the get-go, we were pretty well. When we decided to come here, we built a new car. We built it ourselves in the garage. We didn't have a jig. We didn't have nothing. We put paper on the floor and drew the frame out, and we welded it all together. That's how we built the car.
It was square, right?
And it was a copy of a new Chassis Dynamics car, and we went down to see Bob Cuneo, and we said we built the car, and he goes, "Listen, I don't want that associated with me whatsoever." And we said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, you know, you guys have been known to be ham and eggers," which we probably were because we didn't know any better.
Right.
So, anyways, Danny Civitello and this other kid, John Kerrigan, we three of us built this car with our money, and my brother Tommy. And Danny come back and he said, "We're going to make Kuhn eat them words." And we went through that car and made that car the most beautiful car you ever saw, our 83 car. So we brought it. So we said to Cuneo, "Practice is Saturday at Stafford. Can we bring it down Friday night to set it up?" And he goes, "Bring it down at 10 o'clock at night so nobody will see it." So we rolled it in. He comes out. He walks around the car. He comes out and he puts a big Bodine sticker on the back of the car. And they actually hired Danny Civitello at that point, and Danny went to work for him. And we came up here. Bobby V took the car out in the first practice, and we were like seconds faster than anybody.
Wow.
I got in the car, went out in one practice, and we were just as fast. We loaded the car up, and we left. Nobody knew us. There was a thing at Speedway, seeing the picture of the car, and it says, "Does anybody know who this is?"
Wow.
Whoa. Because this was like your first full time at Stafford. This is your first committed season.
We didn't really know what it was about then.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, we won the championship. We won Most Improved Driver, but it was easy. It wasn't. Maybe we had a great car. We had great people. Had Bob Cuneo behind us, helping us. We had a state-of-the-art car, and I mean, winning the '83 championship was somewhat easy.
Everything, all the pieces came together at the right time.
I think we won. I think we won 3 in a row twice that year.
Yeah. See how many you won? 8 times in '83.
Yeah,
it's pretty dominant.
Well, like I said, it was somewhat easy. You know, the biggest competition was Randy LaJoy when he was running the '83 Coupe, but then he left mid-season to go down south, so that left that ride open. And that was my real competition that year. And once he dropped out, it was just we just cruised.
And this is also early times for the SK Modifieds. Right? This is the beginning, second season. So the first champion was Charlie Savage, and then the second was a battle in Bo Gunning.
Yeah. Then 16 years later, it took me to win another one.
So you win you come here. It's a new car. You win the title, and then the end of the season it comes around, and what happens?
Well, 3 of us put in to build this car. The deal was at the end of the year we'd sell the car, split the money 3 ways, and decide where we were going to go from that point. I got an offer from Rick Bennett to drive the '83, which at the time was probably one of the highest finance teams out there from John J. Brennan Construction. So I took the ride. My guys didn't go. They didn't want my guys. So my guys stayed behind. Mm-hmm. John Anderson decides he's going to come back racing. He takes all my guys. So now it's me racing against Anderson. And everybody knew me and John had a lot of battles on the track. Well, when the fights broke out, it was always my guys that were
against you.
Yeah, you know. It really wasn't that way. There was only a couple of them on Johnny A's crew that would actually come over and fight with me. But my good guys, my friends, they just walked away. They didn't get involved in that. That was probably the worst mistake I made, taking the ride in that car. Money was there. Maybe all the talent behind the scenes weren't. They wanted to win every week, and people spend a lot of money. They expect they can win every week.
Mm-hmm.
They pushed me to the point where I did things I shouldn't have done on the track, which put me in a position that people didn't like me. Brennan Construction, John Brennan would call me up and say, hey, we're bringing 3 busloads of people to the track tonight. You better win. Well, you know what racing.
Sometimes you can't win. That's not there.
You know what? Sometimes the best car, fastest car doesn't win. Right. Usually do they ever win.
Yeah.
And he would say, if you don't win, you better put a show on. So what did I do?
You put a show on.
So
I found an interesting quote from you about that time. It said you were wreckers or checkers every single Friday night, every single time at Stafford, and it was hurt your whole career in your mind. So I think the article was back in 2002, kind of when you got hooked up with Partridge, but you're kind of at a point where you're able to look back on that time and say it hurt your whole career.
Yes, it did. I was very fortunate, though. I had good rides. After I ran my own car, 83, 84, 85, I ran for Brennan Construction. 86, my brother Tommy bought a chassis. We didn't have no money. We'd go race shop to race shop on Saturdays and see what we could get that they didn't want or sell cheap. And went up to Sherry Cup one Saturday morning. Mike McLaughlin was there, Clyde McLeod. They were working on the car. And I said to Mike, listen, we really need hubs and brakes and stuff. Well, you got any? So he said to Clyde, hey, we put new hubs and brakes on this car? He goes, yeah. So he said, we can have all these.
Really?
North End Auto Parts at the time. We went down there. They had a pile of stuff. Take what you want. Well, we ended up building that car and came here to race it. One other thing we were very lucky about, in the early days in 83, Bob Bruno built my motor. We had the only Bob Bruno motor out there, and we won whatever it was, 6 races or 7 or 8 races. The championship. Well, Bob sold like 40 motors the next year. So when I come back with my own car, I went to Bob, and Bob said, I don't really feel I owe this to you, but I'll do it for you. I will sponsor your motors for you. Me and Tommy were talking, and my brother were talking about that on the way up here. If it wasn't for that, we couldn't afford to race, because I'll tell you, we did more with nothing than most people did, because we didn't have no money.
And you always have. That's your whole career.
We didn't have no money, you know. I mean, we worked, and George at the time would supply the truck trailer and the tools. Me, Tommy, and Steve Gleason, we put into the car. And if we didn't get wrecked, Tommy'd buy a case of ball joints or a couple of rims. And then I got in with the guys over at R&R Wheels, because I didn't have no money. So I'd call him up and say, I need 3 wheels. And he'd say, listen, I'll put you on a deal. I'll give you 2 wheels a week. And so that worked for us. It was tough back then. You know,
Yeah.
I sit back sometimes and say, and then for a while we were running 3 times a week. And I don't know how we did that. You know, just,
I don't know how you guys did that.
you know. And
It's so tough to even just put
Yeah.
one night together.
well, we
Forget
had it
if you
down.
3
We
in
go
a row.
down on Route 10 there off 84 in Plainville. There was a plaza with 3 banks, and we could run. If I had $200 in the bank, I could get 200 out of all 3 banks. And we'd go racing. Well, I'd go to the bank Monday morning to put the money in. They'd say to me, "Why do you do this?"
Right.
Wait, so you would go to 3 banks and take out $200 from each bank, but you only had 200 as a balance. in
Yeah,
your
so
account.
I'd overdraw it.
But you go back on Monday with the winnings, right? And pay it back off.
Some weeks you made it. Some, you know, there was a couple times we won all 3 nights, and we were on top of the world then,
Yeah.
you know. And even here, there was a couple big shows, a couple 100 lappers we won that paid good lap money. I mean, we won that Noble 100.
That was a big one.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun, you know. And then after the Brennan, and we built our own car, and we ran our own car in 86, 87, 88, I believe. And then 88, Rich Silvestri, a guy from Jewett City, we were at Waterford and we got wrecked and we were out of money. And he said, run my car. So we came up here. I think you guys had a Sunday show here. It was a big show. And I think we won that show, and the motor was illegal. They threw us out. And one thing we didn't do was cheat, because
Yeah.
you couldn't afford to cheat, you know. And so I ran for Rich the rest of that year, and then we put a modified tour car together for 89. And, you know, this is something that probably got forgotten about. I'll never forget it. But we came here for the Sizzler, and we put the car on the pole for the Sizzler that year in '89.
89.
Modified.
Wow.
That was a pretty.
That was a
neat
deep
deal.
field, too. That was
Yeah, it was, and a lot of guys got mad. They said, well, you run here every week, and it's not fair. Like 10th lap of the race, Reggie hit me in the back, and the fan hit the radiator, and we dropped out. But, we ran half a season that year with the modified tour car, and it was like money. It was so much money just to travel. We went to Martinsville, it rained out, and they said, well, we'll run next weekend. So we had to come home and go all the way back to Wow, that was half our budget to race that year,
Jeez, That's crazy.
Then after that, Pete and Bob from the 33 SNS, they called me. Jerry got hurt at Thompson, and me and Jerry were good friends. And Jerry called, and they called me to drive, and I said no, because Jerry had just gotten hurt, and I just didn't want to get involved in that. And then they called me a second time, and it said to Tommy, you know what, we're not doing nothing now. We need to do something. So I said to Pete, yeah, I'm interested. So he said, why don't you come down Monday night, check the car out, see if you fit in it. We'll change what we got. And so I walked in the garage, and I'm looking at the car, and it's got a welded-on front bumper. And I said to him, before I get in the car, I got a question. I said, why me? What do you mean? I said, well, Jerry drove for you for many years. I said, that front bumper's been on that car for probably 3 years.
His nickname was Coast and Collect.
Right.
I said, I usually go through one, maybe 2 bumpers a night.
A night. Let's pause there. A night. He's not
A night.
joking either.
So I said to him that, well, the bumper isn't going to hack it here. And he goes, well, if we need to put a bolt-on bumper, we will. And I said, why me? He goes, well, we finished a lot of races. He said, we want to win some. I says, well, let's change that bumper and we'll see. I got in the car, fit in the car good. I said, yeah, we're good. Come up here that night, and we finished, I think, 3rd or 4th with it. And they were like on a downhill slide. They had Mike Lavetri drive for them for a little bit, and they were on a downhill slide. And they like all got parked. Nick Dinsmore was doing the motors, and they always had great motors. And Pete was like the smartest guy you could ever meet. And so we come back, I think, the next week, and I think we won. And we had a Beretta body. They had a Beretta body on the car. Ugliest car you ever saw. It was. And they said, oh, the body's illegal. Pete goes, we run it for 3 years now. Well, because they took a hatchback and made it have a trunk. Yep. So they made it into a hatchback. Well, the car got even uglier at that point. But we did really well that year. Then we built a new car, come up here and ran. Ran well. I said to him, let's go to Thompson. I'd like to run Thompson. We went up to Thompson 6 times that year and won all 6 shows.
Wow.
All the big shows we went to, we won all. So that was 91. 92, we ran Thompson full-time, won the championship up there. Then we came back and pretty much ran here with them guys. And that was a great time. You know, you don't realize what you have until you don't have it anymore. We'd leave the garage, and God bless them guys. Most of them are passed away now, but I'd leave there and I'd say to Tommy, I can't do this no more. He said, okay, find a better ride. Well, there was no better ride at the time. That was the ride, you know. I mean, we'd go out to practice, and everybody go up to time and see how fast we were, because they, you know, and so we'd always play games with them. You know, we'd go hard 3 laps through 1 and 2, easy through 3 and 4. Then we'd go hard through 3 and 4 and real easy.
Keep them
1.
guessing.
Well, we don't. You know what? We always wanted a little cushion there, so you know we knew we could pick 2, 3 tenths up at any point in time, you know. And then Pete one day says to me, "We're out of money," which wasn't. That'd be like Dunkin' Donuts saying we ran out of coffee. Right. But anyways, he put X amount of dollars away to go racing, and when that money was gone, we were done. So we had to find some money. Meanwhile, Billy Anderson called me up, and he says, hey, I have an old car here. Why don't you run it? So Ricky Rotundra, Stevie Gleason, me, Tommy, we went down there, and there's a 2x4 chassis. This is a 2x4 chassis. This is in the, probably 94, 95
Okay,
now.
so you're going to have to explain what a 2x4 chassis is for us.
The steel is 2 inches by 4
oh,
inches.
shoot, it's freaking
Now
thick.
they run 2x3, which 2x4 went out in probably the early 80s.
Yeah.
Well, I had this 2x4 car. It was actually Gino Spada's old car. Sitting there, motor in the corner. Like, really? Well, we put the car together. You had a Wednesday 4th of July race here. It was a big race on a Wednesday. And we come up here and everybody laughed at us. Well, let me tell you something. We blew them away and won that race with a 2x4 chassis.
That was just, hey, here's the chassis, put it together. And
No,
you
know what it was? And I firmly believe this. If everybody believes you can do it, you can.
Yep.
One guy don't believe you can, you're not.
So important in racing.
My guys all believed we could. Every week we came here, even when we shouldn't have, we won that. The year we put the car together out of parts and pieces from everybody, we came here and we were by no means the fastest car here. It was a Sizzler. Coming down for the checkered flag, we're in 5th. Teddy, Jackie, they all crashed. And I got on the outside and I won the race.
Wow.
And it was like, people go, it's like you won the Daytona 500. I said, we feel like we did. So I ran the Anderson car a few times. Friend of mine, I said to him, go talk to Pete, see what he needs to come back racing. So he owned a little deli. So he goes down and talks to Pete. Pete comes in, he says, well, let's get the car ready for Friday night. So I said, we're going back. That was a great thing. So I said to Keith, what'd you give me? He goes, he wanted $1,000. That's all he wanted was $1,000, he said. So we ran the rest of the year. Then 98 came around. We had an S&S car, a Diablo car. It was a copy. Stefanik was building them with the dirt guys. And anyways, we come up here with that brand new car to practice day, and we were like the slowest car here. So we went back to the shop. We go down to the garage Monday, and Pete's got the car, the nose cut off the car. He's putting. I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "It can't work the way it is. We're going to fix it." So Stefanik come down, and he goes, "You guys are crazy. That's like a great nose." And Pete says, "It isn't." Well, we came up here that year, and we ran really well. Me and my brother were just talking about that. I got the Pit Stopper magazine from '98. With 7 races left, we were 140 points behind in 7th place. Going into the fall final, we were 14 points ahead of Teddy and Mike. Yep. We won. I think we won 3 in a row, then we won 2 in a row.
Looks like you won 3 in a row at the end of the year.
Yeah. And we, and I always said I was a winner, not a champion. And somebody said to me in my career, early in my career here, somebody interviewed me, said, what's your goal? I said, 150 races. They said, no way that could ever happen. I said, well, we'll try. Well, we had 47.
47. And so you say you're a winner and not a champion. And why is that the mindset?
I liked winning races. You know what?
Simple as that.
I didn't want to wait to the end of the year.
Yeah.
I wanted to win them then. And I just enjoyed racing. And, it's funny because I'm 62 now. And for 35 years up here, that was my life. There was no life. It was work on the race car, go racing, work on the race car, go racing. That's, when the racing stopped, it was like, what do we do now?
Yeah, now what?
Yeah, really, And somebody said, do you regret it? And I said, no, the only thing I regret was I wished I would have had more money to spend than I did. But
every race car driver is one regret. I wish I had more money to spend on the race car.
So 98, we won the championship with them guys, and that was a great thing. And we were on top of the world. We come into the 99 season, and we were 10th place car at the best.
Really? What happened?
Engine, motors, Pettit, Billy the Kid. See, we had Nick Dinsmore build our motors, and we didn't have a dyno. He'd build the motors, and they were always fast. Yep. Well, these guys got on the game. They came out with great motors. We were a 10th place car at the best. Nick got mad. He quit. It was building the motors. Bob Leslie come on to take over doing the motors. 99 was just a bad season. It was just no wins. I don't even think we had a top 5 that year. We were leading the race here one night, and it was raining a little bit, and they went back to green, and I think the top 9 guys ended up in the first turn wall. So at the end of 99 pizzas, I'm done. I don't want to do this no more. So I said, fine. So we went our separate ways. I didn't have nothing. This guy that was running here, Lance Conley, he ran a few times and he got wrecked and called me up and he goes, Bo, I'm renting the track Friday. I want you to come up and try my car. I think there's something wrong with the car. The guy thinks it's me. So I said, nah, I don't want to. So my brother Tommy says, what, are you crazy? Do it. What do you got to lose?
Yeah.
So I called him back. I said, okay, I'll come do it. So we came up here, took the car out. The car was fast. Eddie Partridge was here practicing, running the track with him. And he had a couple guys from Long Island here in the modified. And back in like 85, 84, 85, Eddie Partridge ran an SK here.
Yeah, there's a picture of him. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't
Eddie
know
ran
that.
a car here. Well, it's a joke because he'll say, I led the race for a quarter lap and you stuffed me in the wall. He goes, I really didn't. What happened was it was him, Kenny Bouchard, and me, and I drove 3 wide underneath them. Eddie checked up, got skipped, whatever, started them, and they all hit the wall. And
That's his one memory of Bo Gutty because you stuffed me
well,
in the
I was
fence.
hoping Eddie didn't remember that. And so I went over to talk to him here when they were renting the track, and he said to me, you want to try my car? I said, sure, I'd love to. So we went out, and there was like tons of things wrong with it. So I told him, so he said, why don't you come down to the shop during the week and go through it? So I grabbed Pete that owned the 33. We were still friends. He went with me. We went through the car, told Eddie all he had was a big garage with a car. Not a spare part, nothing.
A big garage and a car in it. That's it.
Big could have put 25 cars in it. And there was one car sitting there, and that was it. So I said to him, he goes, what do I need? So we made him a list. So he said, come back next week. We come down next Monday. We told him we needed was there. There was a spare motor. There was every part on the car he had bought spare. Told him he needed tools. He had a big tool pit box full of all snap-on. So he said, how about running the fall final for me? So I said, okay. So we came up here for that. And we struggled.
Is this an SK or a
No,
tour
this
car?
was the
This is a
tour
tour
car.
Okay.
Tour car. We struggled. So after the race here, he said, let's go to Martinsville. So we went to Martinsville. And that was the end of the deal. And then he called me like 2 weeks later. He said, I want you to race for me next year. So we went to the tour. We ran the tour a couple times. And
that was in the 09 car,
09
right? Yeah.
car, yeah. It was really.
Was there a team car too, or is it only you?
There was a bunch he had. There was a couple guys that ran. Kenny Hagee ran for him. Mike Curtis. They ran Long Island mostly, Riverhead. So we're going to run for him that year. And why, I don't know. The SKs, I always seemed to shine, and the tour, I didn't. And me and Teddy used to talk about that a lot. I was, one-on-one in an SK, I'll race you any day of the week in the tour. You just got me beat. I don't know. I think I like the idea of racing as hard as you could every single lap, every single inch of the track. Where the tour, you didn't do that.
Yeah, that was going to be a question that I had. Is that you have 47 career victories at Stafford? They're all in an SK.
Yeah.
Pretty much your whole career is in the SK modifieds or a sportsman type modified. Even going back to Danbury, what is the SK that what about it? I know, like you mentioned, it's hardcore racing.
If I knew that, I could have fixed it. But like I said, I think it's just I like the type of racing where you ran as hard as you could run every lap.
There's no riding.
You're not a rider.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't do that.
And that's even like in today's SK racing. Those guys are going hard from the drop of the green flag.
Well, I ran Waterford a couple years ago, and yes, you are on the edge of your seat every single lap. If you screw up a little bit, you're back. Yeah.
Or you're in the fence.
Yeah. Well, not to jump around, but we came here a couple of years ago for the Sizzler, and we had a new Troyer, a TA1 car. A friend of mine, Pete from Valley Auto Machine, built the motor. We dynoed the motor, and we were at like 430, and everybody says they're at 460, 470. Well, we come up here Friday, and we were like fifth fastest all day. Put new tires on it for Saturday, and we went to like 12th fastest. And I said to them guys, listen, Don't worry about it. I can drive that car 12 fastest for 100 laps. I'm not pushing the car past its limits. That's how fast we can go. So it comes out to the heat race. I think it was Todd Owen, Catania, Teddy, me, and Teddy. Well, this should be interesting here, and like I said, I don't believe me and Teddy hated each other. I know we didn't. Just on the track, maybe we did when we were racing against each other. Just wanted to beat each other. Anyways, green come out, and we fall into place. I get behind Owen, Teddy gets behind me, and going on the back straighter, and I had to run, and it's like, I either run over him or I try to go by him, so I pulled out and I went by him. And I got the lead, and Teddy followed me for the next 7 laps and hit me every lap there was. And I'd go down
We
the
having
straight.
flashbacks.
And we ended up winning the heat race, and Teddy finished second. And that was pretty cool because we were out of here for 4 or 5 years at that point, just came back, and that was it. Then after that, we just kind of packed it in, But with Eddie Partridge, it was fun. We ran too much. We were out. We went to Nazareth for a big tour show. And we had a brand new engine in the car, and the oil pump broke. So Eddie goes, "All right, let's go to Riverhead." It's like, what are you, crazy? So
It was probably the same day.
same day. So he called the shop, had them bring the Riverhead car to Riverhead. We left Nazareth and headed to Riverhead. My brother Tommy was spotting, and in Nazareth, you went up to the top of a tower. Well, by the time he got done, we were halfway to Riverhead, so he had to find a ride there. We went to New Smyrna. We won the championship in the SK in 2002 in New Smyrna. Eddie called me, and he said, "Let's go to New Smyrna, try the car. The last 2 shows. We'll just run the last 2 shows." I said, "Well, yeah, I can do that." Called me the next day, he said, "We're going to run the whole thing." I said, "Eddie, I can't just walk out of work." But anyways, I went to the boss. I said, "Listen," so he said, "No problem." So we went down there. We ran the 7 nights in a row, whatever. We won the championship in the SKs down there that year. We had a lot of fun. We ran the tour car the next year down there, and we didn't do great. I think the best I did in tour, Jennerstown in '88, we finished 4th or 5th, and at Waterford with Eddie, we finished 3rd. I think the problem was I like to run the car hard, and the tour cars, 100 laps into the race, you got to be like driving a baby carriage, And
Got to conserve. That's the problem in the tour. A lot of the times is you have to ride for the whole feature.
Yeah.
And then you watch the SKs in SK 5K. These guys are going flat out on the second lap.
Yeah.
That's why it's a good show. It always has been.
Back in the early days here, that was the thing. Green come out, you ran to the front because if you could get to the front first,
you missed the junk.
well, chances are there was another 3 or 4 or 5 guys that if they beat you there, you weren't going to beat them.
Yeah.
Like Bob Potter. He was probably the biggest gentleman racer, the only guy in my whole career I never even had a word with. Bob
Really?
Potter. Yes, because Bob Potter could be so out of control, loose, and I would just follow him because I just respected that man to the hilt. I really did. He helped me a lot, and back in the day, I didn't want to take years to do good. I went to Brian Ross, and I went to Kenny Bouchard, and I went to Bugsy, and I said, "Guys, I need help. How can I go faster?" And like Thompson, I won 3 in a row here. I went to Thompson. I couldn't even finish in the top 10. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? So Kenny goes, "When you get ready to lift, count to 3 and then lift." I can't do that. I can't do that. I said, "What are you, crazy?" I said, "I can't do that." So I did it. It's like 1, 2, I got the 3, and then I got the 4, and then I got the 5, and then I was lifting when I got the 6.
And then you won races.
Then we started winning races there, and probably up there the biggest fun was me and Teddy. Me and Teddy had a lot of fun at Thompson. Thompson's a track, you make a mistake there, you're in trouble. You
Happens fast.
real fast, especially with the banking. You get that little loose and poof, you're in the wall. But one night I'm running second. Teddy's leading. Eddie comes over. He says, "I'll give you $1,000 if you can win this thing." It's $1,000. So we come out of turn 2. I shot to the bottom and I went by Teddy. Well, I don't know if Teddy felt that way about me, but I didn't like Teddy running behind me for a lot of laps because you played hell. You didn't make a mistake because if you made a mistake, he was by you. You know, and had to hit your marks. I used to hit my marks every lap. And so I said, Eddie, we're winning. He goes, I don't know. I'm looking over the back. He said, boy, there's a lot of girls at the beer booth. But then me and Teddy crashed at Thompson that night when Teddy ended upside down on fire.
Yep.
And, you know, and I was sitting in the car, and the car was wrecked. The roll cage was peeled back. Steering wheel was bent. I don't know why the shifter was gone. It's like
So this is let's
And this
take
is
a
in
step back
2003.
here, yeah, because this is kind of you and Ted have been going at it at Thompson and Stafford and all the tracks.
Yeah.
And you're running Thompson. It's just a normal show. There's a big crash. I believe turn 2, going up 2.
Well, coming down the front
Turn
straightaway,
one, yeah,
yeah.
going to one.
Going into turn 1, we were running. I don't know what happened, but I mean, it wasn't even us. Somebody come off and hit Teddy. Teddy come down and hit me.
It's
Well,
like you guys hooked. And
yeah, when we hit that infield, it was like we hit boost. I mean, we were going fast, and I was going backwards, and Teddy's front bumper was against my front bumper.
Wow.
And we were just going helplessly and hit that cement thing and by the pole there.
Yep.
And Teddy come up over, and his bumper went through my cage and took the cage off, and he landed upside down behind me. Wow. Well, the steering wheel's I'm pushing the button. Nobody's answering. I honestly thought I was dead.
Really?
Well, I was looking at the car, and I said, I have to be.
And you're pushing the button, and there's nobody
Nobody's
there.
talking to me, and I'm thinking to myself, well, if I'm dead, this ain't all that bad. I mean, it didn't hurt or nothing, you know. And I hear Teddy yelling, "Oh, help!" So I jump out of the car, and he's upside down. The car's on fire. Fuel cell dumped all the fin. I'm laying in this fuel, all right? And it's like, it's this deep, and I'm laying in it. And he unhooked his belts, and the Hans device got caught in the seat because he was upside down. So I got the Hans device out, and he fell down and trying. He goes, "Oh, my leg's stuck." I said, you can forget about the leg, or we're both going to die here. So I got him out the car, and we went over to the start-finish line and gave me a hug and shook my hand. And Friday night here, I'm leading. He's running second. What do you think happened?
He punted you.
I was in the first turn wall.
That's what, 24 hours later. I mean, because they ran on Thursday nights at Thompson.
Yeah.
And
I was in the wall, and it was like, are you kidding me?
The hug was enough. The hug was the payback. So that's an interesting transition here, too, to talk about some of the battles that you had over the years. I know we tossed up on Twitter that battling Bo was coming on the show, and everyone is asking the same thing. Tell us some stories about Bo and Johnny Anderson over the years. That's what everybody wants to hear.
That son of a gun used to really piss me off sometimes. We would come up here, race and wreck, and smash and crash, and I had no money. And he had a lot of money.
right.
And he would say, "What do you need? Fix your car." And he would
To
give
you?
me, yeah, he would give me money to fix it.
Wow.
Then he'd say, "You got tires?" I'd say, "No, come on." He'd go out and buy me tires.
So
And then he would wreck me again.
he'd wreck you, and then he'd say, "Here you go, Bo. Go fix your car."
Wow. When Johnny A passed away, I went to his, they had a memorial service. I went there, and it was funny because every picture, every video playing was me and him.
You're involved in it, yeah.
And his mother was sitting there, and she's 92 years old. And I remember her back from the 80s. And I went over and I said, "Hello, Mrs. Anderson." She goes, "Hi, Bo, how are you?" No, she goes, "Hi, how are you?" I said, "Good." She goes, "I'm 92, but I still remember things." She goes, "And I don't know who you are." I said, "Well, if your son fought with me more than anybody." She goes, "Are you Bo Gunning?" But me and Johnny A was a different deal altogether. That was not a dislike. I don't know how to explain it. It wasn't like that. It was not like me and Teddy just liked to win, and we liked to run hard. And if I had to beat somebody, it was him I wanted to beat. And I remember at Thompson, they said to him one day, "If you got to beat somebody here, who do you want to beat?" He said, "Bo." With me and Johnny A, it wasn't like that. I mean, we would wreck here, fight here. I mean, actually fight here, come up here, get the payoff, go to the bar in the center of town, and they'd have the big screen and we'd fight all over again down there. Me and Johnny A got in a fight at Waterford one time. They took our driver's license away back when DMV was involved. They took our driver's license away because they said we were going to kill somebody. And we were he was leading. I was running second. I got under him. We tangled. He hit the wall. I hit the wall. We come in the pits, had to change tires. They put the gate up. We didn't stop for that. We went through the gate. They were coming down for the green, right? And he's in front of me, and I bang him. He bangs me. So then he hits me and spins me. He comes down and he hits me right in the side of the car, and actually hurt me.
Wait, so was the key? He was in his car, and he drove into your car in the door.
I was sideways because he got me sideways, and he just drove right into
Is this in the pits?
No, on the track.
On the track.
The other guys are getting ready to go racing, and we're beating each other up out there. And then he gets out and he starts kicking me. Well, I grabbed his leg, and I took the fire extinguisher out and I started beating his leg with his knee with the fire. Anyways, if you read the article about it,
it's like an episode of the Godfather. Goodfellas.
If you read the article, he said he ran over to see if I was okay. He tripped and his foot got caught in my window net.
That's what he said.
That's what he said. Yeah. But you got to remember too. Now, all Johnny A's guys were my best friends. Yeah. We went to school together. Yeah. We raced Danbury together. We won the championship here in '83 together. And then we went our separate way. We still saw each other all the time. We still hung out together, and we were still best friends.
So it was almost like you enjoyed just fighting. Maybe you guys should have been boxers. End of the night, you touch gloves and you go your separate ways.
I remember the night we wrecked going into turn 3, coming down for the checker flag, and Johnny got, I don't know who did what, but I ended up in the wall. He drove around, they black flagged him. So, of course, he stopped there. Well, I ran from turn 3.
Oh, I've heard this, I think.
So, yeah. This is a story that I've heard, too. So, you're over in turn 3, and he's down in
here.
pit road, right?
Yeah.
But I haven't heard it from the source. So.
Well, I started running.
So, you're in turn 3 at Stafford, and he's down by, end of pit road going
I was a lot younger then, but it's still a long ways, let me tell you.
Running.
Well, I'm running, and you could hear the crowd getting louder and louder. And
it's just egging you on.
Oh, yeah, I will. So I got down there, and he's standing there, and I just jumped up, and I swung for all I was worth because that's all I had left in me. Well, he went down. I went, damn party jumped on him. Your grandfather jumped on me. And I'm going, I can't breathe. Get off me. Get off me. And then they put the box in the...
Yeah, it's the next thing. So they tell me the story about the punching bag.
I guess we liked fighting back then. I don't know. You know what? I'll say one thing. The stands were full back then. Mm-hmm. You know, I run into people now that say, I used to take all my vacations on Fridays, all my vacations, just so I could be up there for when the gates open to watch what was going to happen. You know, and back then it was different, way different. Yeah. You know, you'd be running, somebody would come over and say, hey, how you running tonight? You know, somebody from the stands you didn't even know, and I said, running good, but I said, tires are 3 weeks old. We need tires. So he said, here, buy tires.
Wow.
You know, and probably at one point in time I had, I was out of money, didn't have no money, and didn't know if I was going to race. And Ed Urrington called me. I went and had lunch with him. He says, I don't know if this guy can help you, but talk to him. He might. And I went and talked. It was Andre Charbonneau. I went and talked to him, and we put a deal together for the year, and I raced that year, you know, and had a lot of fun over the years. A lot of fights. I'm not going to say I didn't fight with your father many times. Many times. Your grandfather,
way, right?
Many times.
The roots are tough, huh?
They are.
Stubborn people.
Yeah. Your grandfather was tough. Hey, you know what? We wrecked here one night, and he says to me, what do you need? I said, I don't have no money, Jack. He gives me a credit card in the truck. He says, go get the parts you need. So I ran up the fine line. I ran over to Ford, bought a wreck, and put the car all back together, you know, and it was like, it was different then. You know, if you got wrecked and you were working on the car, 10 teams come over to help you. Now, they pretty much sit there and laugh at you.
It was a respect thing.
Yeah, you know, one night, we were up here, and a very stupid thing happened. It was the beginning of the year. I bought a brand new cover at Racearena. I had the car at Racearena. I bought a new cover, and I had the cover on the car just because I had it. George goes, I'm going to warm the motor up. So he starts it up. It was in gear. The cover got caught around the wheel, so the car motor's going blah, blah, blah. And he gives it the gas. It ripped the brake calipers off, ripped the body off.
This is at the track.
Right here. Parked right here, across from the tech line there. And everybody come to help us. You know, I mean, the 33 guys, even Teddy come over, Mikey come over. Everybody helped us, and we got the car all back together and raced that night, you know. It was fun then, different.
It's racing, right?
Racing's rubbing, right?
Rubbin's racing.
Paul's going to start handing his credit card out now
Oh, I
on
don't know.
Friday
No,
nights.
that's he says it's a different era. The stands aren't as full as they used to.
You know,
be.
I went to the Plainville reunion, and Ronnie Bouchard was there a few years ago. And he goes, I don't think I remember you. And I said, well, maybe that's a good thing. So we were talking. I said, I'm boat gunning. And he goes, you know what? When we got out, you guys come in, and that was a totally different era in racing. I guess they raced as gentlemen more than they did crash and bang.
They
like
say
we did.
that. They say
They
that.
say
yeah.
that. Yeah, I know. But I don't know. I don't know why it changed. Liked racing. Jerry Pearl was driving the 33. I dove underneath him one night, ended up going over his roof and got wrecked pretty good. And probably the only time I ever saw Jerry and them guys get mad, and they come over and wanted to beat me up. But we were always good friends. Had a lot of good friends here. A lot of good friends. A lot of people. I come up on Friday nights now, and and a lot of times Ronnie Williams will come up and say, "Hey, what do you do in this situation? What would you do in this situation?" And
That must kind of like, oh yeah, I'm able to give advice to some drivers. I know you're involved with Nick Salva a lot of times as well. So how does that make you feel when young drivers kind of come up and say, "Let me have some advice, Bo"?
how's that make me feel old?
Besides,
No, I guess good. You know what? I'm just not a good spectator. I've come up, last year quite a bit. I don't know. I just don't like watching.
you want to be driving?
And I probably still feel I could. I probably can't, but I feel I could. I don't know. But yeah, it's pretty neat when they, Nick. I helped Nick a lot, and I wish we had more money to do it way
Always
better.
the challenge, yeah.
You
He had some
know?
good runs though this year. He did.
Yeah, well, you know what? The first 5 races, he was in the top 5 every week. But then the freshened motors come in and all that, and we just couldn't do none of that, And so now you go from a top 5 car to a top 10 car, and I've been in this situation many times. When you're a top 10 car, you push hard because you finished in the top 5 the first 5 races, so
You're
you can
confident.
again. And when you push hard,
Things happen.
things happen, and like I said, I've been in that situation where I know I had a car that couldn't win, but I still pushed it as hard as I could to try to win, and maybe wrecked or crashed, and then, like at Thompson, that time I broke my neck, broke 3 vertebrae in my neck, and I healed from that, and then I hit the first turn wall here, the cement wall, and I broke 4 vertebrae. And I was driving the 33 at the time, and that was probably one of the safest cars. Their safe mindset on safety was
Don't
second to
skimp,
none.
yeah.
I mean, back then, a lot of guys ran the tin floors. They had a 1/4-inch steel plate on the floor just to make the car safe. And because what's his name that time got hurt here, where the carburetor stud come up.
Oh yeah, that was
Howard?
Yeah, that
Somebody
was in what like the
Pardon?
early '90s. The early '90s.
Yeah, probably was with Jeff Bodine that time.
Yeah.
Jeff was here. So I got hurt, and the doctor said you probably only got a 30% chance of walking again. And at that time, I beat myself up for racing. Why would I race? Why would I do something stupid like this? Probably in my 30s, late 30s. Well, they operated, fused them all together, and I could walk again. I was good. So I said to the doctor, "Can I go snowmobile?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah." He says, "You're good." So I said, "Well, I could probably race, too." So, but I had given up to riding the 33. Tony Sylvester was driving the 33.
And when's this? Is this in the '90s?
Later 90s?
This is after the championship.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like '99.
No, before the championship.
Okay.
It was before. Sylvester drove the 33 for a year or half a year or something.
Says sidelined in 97. Was it the year before your championship?
What's that?
Was it the year before your
It could
championship?
have been. It could have been. I
So
don't
you take the
remember.
whole season off?
Pretty much. I was hurt.
Wow.
Couldn't race. I got better. I wanted to come to. I didn't come to the races all year, and I came up. I was sitting in the stands, and my knees were shaking, and I was shaking, and it was like something.
You had to get back in.
Something's wrong here. So I went down to use the bathroom, and I snuck through the pit gate, and I went into the pits, and I went over to the 33 guys, and Pete looks at me, and goes, "Are you ready to come back?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Be at the garage Monday."
Wow.
So I went back. I'm not going to tell my wife this. So I said, I'm thinking about racing again. She goes, "The only way you can race is if it's the 33.
Oh.
Okay,
I'm
we're
good.
running. So I went down and we took a week to get everything sorted out with Tony Sylvester. There was a lot of issues there. They got the car back. It was painted like a tiger. Pete hated that. We had to paint the car. He didn't like the tiger deal. And I ran the rest of the time with them guys, and we had a really good time. You know, it was Pete and Bob. Pete Simonson and Bob Sandstrom, they were partners. Probably the best partnership you ever saw in your life. Never once did they fight, did they argue, nothing. And we'd be looking at a brake rotor with a magnifying glass because there'd be a crack in it. And Pete would say, "Oh, I think Bob would say, put rotors on." "Okay, we'll put rotors on." That's the way it
Good
worked.
car owners to have then.
They were great people, you know. I mean, people's a little different in different ways. When we went to Thompson and won the championship in '92, Pete goes, "Well, you guys are on your own. I can't get there until at least 4 o'clock." Well, practice is over and everything by then. So I said to Bob, "Why is it Pete can't get there until 4 o'clock?" He said he does his laundry on Sundays. And he wouldn't change his routine.
Yep.
So
Whatever, right?
we had a 100 lapper up there one time, and Pete gets up there and he goes, and we had a 4-link rear suspension in the car, which nobody else ran. I didn't really
Even
care.
now.
No, I didn't
Yeah.
really care for it, but that's what they wanted, so that's what we ran. And Stevie, that worked with me then, he moved the links some oddball way, and the car was super fast. Pete walks in, he goes, "Oh, I see we moved the links." He goes, "Where are we starting for the feature?" I said, "Car didn't go good." "I could see that." And I said, "No, we're starting on the pole." Well, we won the heat. We ended up winning that race.
sure did.
And, then I think the week after we went up there for a show, and it rained, so they drew for starting position. Well, everybody draws, I think, 22, 1, 2, and 22 are left. There was me, Teddy, and Kerry Malone left to draw.
So somebody's starting out back.
So I go up to draw. I go, 1, and I handed it over to him. And Teddy gets all mad, and I drew 22. I had to start out back.
We're not going to give anyone any ideas for the SK 5K when we do the gambler's draw here. We're not going to give anyone ideas on looking at it and putting it back. So,
But, yeah, I told him it was 1, and he got all mad, and everything, but it really wasn't. But we won that show, too, but
From the back.
from the back. Yeah, them guys in the 32 are very smart guys. They were, you know what? Pete would sit down and say, "Okay, we got 50 laps or we got 100 laps. The car's going to do this around lap 40, this around 50. Just like when I ran with Eddie Partridge, Mike Wheeler, who crew chief for
Denny
me.
Hamlin was, he was eventually a Daytona 500
Yeah,
crew chief.
yeah, with Hamlin.
Yeah, with Hamlin.
Well, he was my crew chief here. And I raced it in 2002. I raced different than I ever raced in my life. Mike always had a tablet, and he'd time every lap. And he'd time other guys that were close. And he'd say to me, "You're the 3rd fastest car on the track. When you get the 3rd, stay there."
Right.
And I'd get the 3rd to be restarted. He said, "No, stay in 3rd." And we did.
Don't overdrive.
And we won the championship racing that way. One night, Mike radios me. He goes, "Hey, they just took my tablet away from me." I said, "Why?" He goes, "I don't know. They think I was adjusting something on the car." He goes, but he would, you know, it's funny because he would read every lap time to me. Every lap time, every lap, what the time was.
During the feature.
During the feature, every lap. And there would be times I'd try something off the wall, and I'd say, "Wow, that was bad." Mike goes, "I don't know what you did there. You were 3/10 faster that lap." And be like,
What the?
see, but if you had to do it by the seat of your pants, it felt horrible that lap, but it was fast.
Right.
So did you like competing in that way, where you're being told your lap times every lap, you're being told when you get to third, stay because you're a third place car, or is the old Vogue gunning I want to win?
No, I didn't like racing that way, but I liked Eddie Partridge a lot. Eddie Partridge was probably the nicest gentleman, best guy I ever knew, and I wanted to do good for Eddie. You know, we came here that year with the SK full-time, 2002. We won the Sizzler. That was when it rained out the one weekend. They ran the following weekend with just the SK. Yep. We won that show, and there's this guy standing in victory lane with tears running down his face.
He was, wow.
And it was like, wow, that's pretty neat, you
Yeah.
know. And, you know, I won a lot of races, a lot for me. This was for them then, you know.
Yeah.
And then I ran Donnie Silverman's car.
21. It's a blue car there for a while.
06 maybe, it
Yeah.
was somewhere around there. I won a race with that car. Again, it was me and Teddy.
Yeah.
I was leading, he was second, hit me every single lap of the race. And I knew, you know what, he was faster than me. I knew that. I guess I was good at messing up his groove. The biggest thing with Teddy, and I respect Teddy to the hilt, believe me, because he is a great race car driver. I'll never say he wasn't. Maybe not the cleanest at all times with me, but he was. If you could mess up his game, you had it made, because Teddy always liked you running his race. Yep. I would run my race. You know what? It was like a couple of years ago at the Sizzler in the heat race. We'd get into the corner, and he'd hit me. Right? Hit me again. He hit me the second time, I'd go. Next lap, I'd let him hit me. Hit me the third time he hit me, I'd go. So I didn't do the same thing 2 laps in a row. He'd hit me the first time, I'd go. Next time I'd get him before he could even get a chance to hit me, I'd take off. Because when you bump somebody, you know, you bump somebody, when you bump, you let off. If they go, there's that, it feels like there's hours in between the time you get back on the gas, you know. So I did that with Silverman that night, and I knew I had to run a perfect race because he was faster. We were a little slow. And I knew if I let him make me miss my mark, get in that much too deep or get on it too quick, and I just concentrated, and we ended up winning that night. And that was a great win for Donnie. He never had a win, never has since, but still talks about it. And those
That's
times
good
are
for
great.
him, yeah. And so I know you came back in 2016 and you drove in the SK5K. I would love to get your take on, you know, what the racing is like then compared to what it was like 80s, the 90s. Is it similar? Or is it all the same?
The biggest difference probably is the cars more than anything. I mean, motors can get faster, slower. I'm going to say, you know, back in the 80s, we can unload, and the car could be at 60%, and we knew the driver could make up 40% and win with it. Well, now if you don't unload at 100%, if you unload at 95%, you're going to be a 10th place car.
You already lost.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest difference. I mean, you know, in my opinion, and me and my brother were talking about it on the way up here, I think everything got out of control a little bit from motors, from engines. You know, you spend $1,000 for a set of headers. Why?
Right.
Why? If everybody can run a $300 set of headers, what does it really matter?
Yeah.
You know, and my theory, and Mark will probably throw me out of here after I say all this. But
oh boy.
no, you know, it's like engines. Engines is the biggest cost now.
Yeah.
That kills you. And these top guys only run them 4 or 5 weeks, and they freshen them. You know, someone put pistons in every 3-4 races. Well, a normal guy can't afford that. You know, if you come up with a good crate motor that you run in the light, put that in the SK with a 4-barrel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then a guy from the SK Light could move up to the
Easier
SKs
transition.
very easily. Or take that same motor and run it in a late model with something else, different intake, or in a limited late model, or dare stock with a restrictor plate.
Yeah.
You know, and so you spend $5,000 on a motor. I mean, the last motor I bought from Pitt, I spent $25,000 on it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is crazy, and that's the beauty of the SK light division. Thank goodness we came up with that because
But
that is
even
a
got
good
out
program.
of control a little
but
bit.
yeah, but still, it is
Because
some containment at least.
Yeah, but a motor still's almost
Yeah.
$10,000 there. You know, back when first year they had them here, a friend of mine bought one. He bought the motor $3,500 with the pan on it. Went racing.
Now they're about complete. They're about a 6.
Yeah, and then you got a rad, or rad's got a
No,
dome.
complete 6.
Yeah. So
It's a crazy game we play here. I know I'm looking at the dirt guys up in Lebanon at the Valley. They're spending $60,000 for a big block. Talk about stupid.
but they also run a 25
Yeah,
lap
yeah,
race
it's
for
different.
30
It's
grand
different.
to win. I had many a times back in the early days. We sat right out here and had meetings over rules and all kinds of different things. And I remember one time here, you guys had Tim Richmond was here racing, and he was running one of Kerry Malone's cars. And we doctored the car up a little bit for that race that night to be a little faster. And we were running up front, and Richmond was running behind us, and we didn't have radios or nothing there. And we come to the corner, and he goes like underneath everybody, through the infield, comes out on the back straightaway.
Through the infield?
Yeah, he wins the race. It's like, see, that was different then.
Yeah.
He would come, Earnhardt come that time,
Yeah.
Waltrip come. You know what? You
They
could
all
never get
came.
them guys to do that now.
I'm trying my best to get Kevin Harvick here, but
Well,
you never know.
You
Yeah.
never go. You
Yeah.
got Priest on your side there.
Yeah,
That could
yeah,
help, you
yeah.
know. You know, like we went to Martinsville in '89, and we pulled in. We parked. Earnhardt was here. Petty was here. We had to modify because it was where you pulled in.
That's
your park.
cool.
And, you know,
That's cool.
We hung out with Petty. We tried to get Dale Earnhardt to run our modified back then. We had the Gambler. It was the 8 car.
Yeah.
It was a gorgeous car. It was brand new, never been raced, and we wanted to get Earnhardt to run it, hoping it was a televised show. You know, and
He wouldn't do it.
no, he got in and he says to me, I wouldn't drive that coffin.
Yikes.
But, you know, we
The
hung out.
intimidator was intimidated.
Yeah, we hung out with Petty there. And, you know, and I said that was when Richard was on his downfall. And they let him go to Martinsville and practice for 2-3 days. And I said to him, you're running good. He goes, I'm running real good. He says, everybody else is running better than me. That's all. He goes. But you could walk around then and go talk to Kenny Schrader or go, you know, it's just,
Different era.
yeah. Now they're superstars.
Yeah, superstars. Do
Bill
some-
Slater said to me one day, Bill Slater was a good friend of mine. I was walking through the gate and he goes, I used to be almost as famous as you. It don't last very long, he says.
Wild Bill, the one and only.
He was a great guy. You know, back in the day, Eddie Flemke Sr., even Junior, you know what? I used to go to all them guys for help.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem driving to wherever they were and talk to them. And this is what I'm having a problem with. How do I fix it? What do I do? You know? And Flemke Sr. would actually say to me, well, give me the address of your garage. I'll come down. And he'd come down and
That's cool.
say, change this, change that, do this, do that, you know? The only one, a couple guys I asked for help and steered me in the wrong direction. I don't know why or how come, but, you know, and then when Stafford ran Waterford was just never my good place. Just won a show or two there, but
One.
yeah, it just never was my good place.
Interesting.
And just like that, we are an hour.
That was
plus
amazing. I
into
didn't
it.
want to stop there.
But we do have some rapid fire questions.
We
for
do
you.
the quick
Uh-oh.
fire
Wrap this up.
questions. Are we ready for those?
We're ready.
All right. What is your favorite track? You don't have to say Stafford. It's Stafford.
Stafford is, yes.
What is
You know, the prestige of winning here, yes.
What is your least favorite track?
Waterford.
Okay. Who, in your opinion, is the best driver you ever competed against? You can give me the top couple if you have to, but the best one.
Well, I competed in the SKs mainly. You got to know probably at the top of the list would be Teddy. I enjoyed racing against him. I enjoyed beating him. He beat me sometimes. I beat him. Good racers. Bob Potter was a smart racer. Probably one of the smartest ones out there. Jerry Pearl was a very smart racer. Mikey Christopher he was up there. He had hot and cold spells, and we always joked about that because we won a championship in the 80s, 90s, and the 2000s. I said, wow, that's a long time. But yeah, I would probably say one of the top would be Teddy. Teddy was great. A lot of these young guys, when I ran with Keith Rocco, Keith was young.
Yeah.
And I remember Keith doing the TV on Channel 3 or something, and they said, how do you like running against the young guys? He goes, I was a young guy at one time.
Yeah.
That was true, you'd catch them, bang them, bump them, push them out of the way, and keep going.
He learned from you then. He learned that. Did you have an all-time favorite Cup driver if you had to pick one?
Dale Earnhardt.
Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah, you know what? We went to, like I said, we parked next to him in Martinsville, and we went to Loudon, and I went over there, and I was talking to him, and he goes to me, the gambler, Bo. And I said, yeah.
He remembered you.
How the hell do you know you? And then the funny part was when I came back here, I don't remember when it was, with Eddie Partridge, Jackie did a thing on Howard Stern about me coming back, and people said, oh, you know Howard Stern? I said, yeah, I was in the office with him. It was
Biggest career victory, if you had to pick one.
Biggest career victory. Anytime you could win is big. Mm-hmm. Biggest career victory. That's really hard to say. I had so many special ones. The first time I ran with Eddie Partridge, that was special. Don Silverman, that was special. 83, we won a lot the championship. That wasn't special. We didn't know what we were.
You didn't know what you had yet.
We didn't have a clue. I don't know. I won the No Bull 100 here that year.
That was a big one.
That was a big one. That was a great. We were voted in the top 50 drivers. I remember they did time trials, and it was I was running the 33. We were never the fastest, but we were always consistent, and we could stay that fast the whole race. And Bob Potter was really fast that day, and they're going to do time trials. So I said to Pete, what are we going to do to the car? He goes, nothing. I said, what do you mean nothing? We got to do something. He goes, what, if we block the nose off, what's the car going to do? I said, I don't know. He said, I don't either. He goes, we know what it's going to do. So I get ready to go out. My brother Tommy come run up. He goes, go out the gate, shift the gears, and just run it like, don't do nothing crazy. We got the pole. And that was a great deal, and getting the pole for the 89 Sizzler.
Yeah.
That was, I remember going out there and running, and the difference was, you probably don't remember, the modified used to run up to the top of the corner and then down. We didn't do that. We went around the corner like we did with the SKs. Yeah. We just picked up tons of speed. And I remember sitting there and we're on the pole. And I was like, time trials are all over. We're still on the pole. But that was 89.
Yeah.
It didn't mean nothing then. I mean, it did, but you figure that's going to happen a lot more
perspective
times.
That you have later, you're just like, last one. Do you have a favorite fight?
Favorite fight. Wow. Well, I got a video. Goes about 25 minutes. It was the fall final here. They come and said everybody had the braces in the front bumper. Said we had to cut them out. So we took ours out. Johnny Anderson didn't take his out. So when the race was over, I protested them. They threw them out. Well, we were parked close to each other in the pits. Well, somebody videotaped it. We come in, Johnny come up, we get in a big fight, and probably within 15 minutes there had to be 40, 50 people, fighting. It was just fighting. Oh my God. Everybody was fighting. And I remember, I think it was Larry Knightswich was standing there, and I said, I'm not doing nothing. And Johnny A kept hitting me. I said, he started. He goes, yeah, he started. So I figured if he started, I could start fighting now because I didn't want to start the fight because I couldn't afford to pay a fine. But that was probably
That's number one. All right.
That was a fight. We had a couple of Thompson. One time at Thompson, we were with our own car. We're leading the points, and we were overheating, and we came in. It was the last race, and all we had to do was finish the race, and they wouldn't let me out because they said I came in too fast. So the constables come running over and said, "Oh, you're done." Well, they grabbed me. My Tommy took a tire over the top of the car, knocked both of them guys down like bowling pins. It turned into a brawl, and then the state police showed up with dogs, and it was like,
With dogs.
okay, stop. And Art Vogel was there, who I knew Art Vogel from the school buses, and he saved my life because he said, "I'm taking him." He threw me in the back of the car, took me up to his house. The guys loaded up and come pick me up because if they ever put me in the back of the cop car, I probably wouldn't have made it alive to the police station.
Wow. Well,
But
that was something.
And with a bang. Bo, thank you for joining us here this morning on the Bottom Shot podcast. Great guest, great memories, and like you mentioned, championships in 3 decades here at Stafford Motor Speedway.
Yeah.
Not too many people. I don't think anybody else can really say
It's
that.
a legend at Stafford, and we appreciate your stories. We appreciate you being a part of the Stafford, the history, and
it's pretty neat to be able to sit in there without getting hollered at.
you're talking to in a route, and you're not getting an indefinite suspension. Well, appreciate all you've done for the track over the years. You've been a big component of the place, and we're just glad we got to get the stories down.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Wrapping up another edition of the Bottom Shot podcast. Wow.
Whoa, that was awesome.
Yeah, and again, we could have kept going.
I didn't want to
for
stop him.
hours, and he was ready to go.
We're gonna have to have him
for
back.
hours.
I think we're gonna have to have him back
For
down
part
the road.
2?
Wow, that was he had so many additional. We completed the interview, and then we talked for another 30 minutes.
Yeah, probably about that. And some more great stories. It's like, why we should be rolling now.
Yeah,
But
that was exactly what when we talk about doing this podcast. That's it. That's exactly it.
and yeah, we have those stories captured
Forever.
Yeah. So he's been around a while. We talked about the decades of him racing here and winning championships in 3 different decades here at the Stafford Motor Speedway. He's referenced your grandfather a lot and your dad. They didn't see eye to eye apparently, but thankfully they're friendly now behind the camera. And now the route tradition continues. Your dad is still here, but now you and your brother coming on board full time here at the racetrack to hopefully create some memories for the kids that are in the pits now. Then their tales for the next couple decades.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool to be a part of it, and the era's change when you hear the good old days, right? But every era had a good old day prior to it, and I think we've been able to create this environment where the racing isn't the same as it was in the 80s and in the 90s and even the 70s, but it's still great. It's still amazing. It's very competitive. There's plenty of cars in the pits. There's just a lot of it's very enjoyable, and like I always say, it's Stafford's going to be in existence until it's just me and David out there by ourselves, right? Stafford Speedway is going to be a track for as long as I'm involved, as long as my brother's involved. Our passion is there, and we just love this place. And
we talked about it a bit earlier, and you mentioned the racing a moment ago. The racing's different now than what it was in the 80s and 90s and the 70s. But really everything changes. There weren't podcasts.
Oh, fair.
And the internet wasn't really around. And you guys have taken those tools and have done more with those tools than most facilities out there, I feel like.
Yeah, and it's fun.
Like this show.
Like the show, we have some great content on our Facebook page, our channel on YouTube. Bonssa has been producing some awesome content. If you haven't subscribed to our page, pop on there, check it out. We're posting content daily. We just posted that Ted, Christopher, Keith, Rocco battle.
2009.
That's up there, so it's
is.
worth the trip. Subscribe. There's content coming out all the time. But back to your point, it's the era has changed, but we're trying to make the sport as accessible as possible to as many people as possible, be it a fan, a driver, a team, or a competitor, to kind of give the driver, some awareness, kind of who is Paul LaRue, who is Todd Owen or Keith, or just continue to have that content available. And it's a blast to do. It's a lot of fun, and we have the most passionate fans on earth and the most passionate teams on earth, and the content really, it writes itself, and that's the enjoyment of it.
Stafford Motor Speedway on YouTube and on Facebook and on Twitter, going behind the scenes this offseason with a lot of the young drivers. Now the Bonssa's been to George Bissett Jr.'s shop, and
Nicole Chambrello, Mike Christopher, other day, yeah.
Yep. So, talk about the youth of the pits here at Stafford. The 3 drivers that we mentioned, I think the average age right there is about, 19?
Maybe 20.
Maybe 20. So a lot of youth in the pits, and this place, I think, seems like it's in good hands right now.
I hope so. And I know there tends to be a lot of negative, commentary out there in the auto racing environment,
right.
But it's all good. And I was looking at some old car counts from back in, I think it was 2002, fall final. There was 97 cars in the pits, 97 Stafford cars in the pits. That's not a kind of tour, but that was across 3 divisions.
Yep.
We had 127 cars in the pits at the fall final.
Wow.
In 2019. So there's more cars than ever. There's more people than ever. There's more drivers than ever. And, it's very positive, and it's exciting to me. I love to, we're at the track every day just trying to grow the sport as much as we can. And, it's fun, and I hope all our teams and drivers also enjoy it as much as us.
How many days to the Napa Spring Sizzler?
95.
95 days and counting. And a few more of these Bottom Shot podcasts between now and then as well. I want to thank Bo Gunning for being a part of it. Another fun show.
That was awesome.
We'll do it again next time. Who do we have geared up here in the next couple of weeks?
We have Mike Christopher, Dan Avery. Probably Tom Fern,
yep.
And even potentially Jack Arute, the world famous.
Oh, boy. Jackie
Tune
Jr.
in.
Yeah, tune in. Stay logged on to our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and we'll have more shows and content coming for you over the course of this offseason. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time here on the Bottom Shot Podcast.